hello, Faustiest Witch of them all. Are you there?
I am here, ready and willing.
You are there. I can't quite hear you. I have to turn the sound up.
Can't hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. That's a little better. Right. So, today, interesting subject. Subject no doubt will get critiqued about. And people get upset because they'll see it as the only way they can see it. And that's probably an insult, yes? We're talking about a witch's power level. Now, the Faustiest Witch of them all must be like a what? 10 out of 10? What is this scale that we judge magical practitioners on and such? Is it like trumps, you know, those cards, or Pokemon cards, or anything where there's like some sort of scale or something?
I don't know. The first way we normally split is foundation, intermediate, advanced, isn't it?
Yes, but that's rude, Chris.
And you think scoring people out of 10 is less rude?
Well, there's levels, isn't it? Isn't that what they do in X-Men? They've got like level 1 mutant, level 2 mutant, and then there's like the who is it? Jean-Luc Picard, who's like a level 4 or something. Okay. And then you've got like the Phoenix woman who's like a level 5. I think that's how it works, something like that. Do you know?
I love how you mixed in there some trekkiness with Marvel.
Well, I don't know what his name is. Oh, Professor Xavier. I mean, it's the same dude. Yeah. It's the same guy.
It's the same actor.
It's just different people. Well, it's the same guy. It's just an alternate universe, isn't it? I mean, in this universe, he's probably like, I don't know, an actor or something.
Yes.
Because this is Universe 1, Chris.
Oh, okay. Is that what it is?
You'll notice this. You'll notice this, actually, with your trans-dimensional, multi-dimensional travelings and stuff. This is Universe 1, and everyone in Universe 1 is here, but they're also doing other things in other universes, like, innit? In Universe 1 is pretty fucking boring. I'm not going to lie. It's very mundane, Universe 1. But Universe, like, X amount over that way or that way or that way or that way, you know, it's kind of like, well, they got starships and stuff. So, yeah, Patrick Stewart in this universe is just some actor. But, like, in other universes, he's like some kind of mutant that runs a school, you know, admiral and some kind of intergalactic Starfleet type thing. I mean, it's all rather cool. Why we ever chose to come to this universe, I don't know. But there we go. We're here now.
Chrissy seems to agree with you. She says Patrick Stewart basically always plays himself anyway.
Right. It's a serious question. Is there such a thing as power levels from a practitioner's perspective? Because we view it as power as in what someone is very often hierarchies of spirits and that. So is this a god? Can it do this thing? Can it do that one? If I've got an upset, if I've got this deity here and it's really being a pain in the ass, has it got a boss? You know, is the boss more powerful? I've got this witch over there. They can do a money spell. But this witch over there, if they're more powerful, can they do a more powerful money spell? If I'm a doctor, how do I judge who's a better doctor? Because they've got specialisms, haven't they, with these doctors and that. But at the same time, the doctor that prints off their medical degree by paying £500, entering a multiple choice exam and downloading it from the internet, is that the same power level as a doctor, intelligence level what? Magical practitioners, Chris. Is there such a thing as like some kind of hierarchy or power level?
I think it's difficult to say based on the fact that no two practitioners are really alike. And it will always come down to what the fight is about. So at the end of the day, it'll come down to that. Power levels only really matter when one witch goes against another.
Right. But what about a witch that decides to go up against the Fae? Because that happened. And there's power level there. That would played a very important role, didn't it? Power level. I mean, let's be fair. Last week we had who was it? Lady Snake. Yeah, Lady Snake. What's Lady Snake's power level? You know.
Well, she's
And
not even. She's not even on the scale.
Could she take on? Well, I'm pretty sure if you put her on a scale, she'd come up with quite a big number.
That's awful. You can't say that.
I just did. For those who don't know Lady Snake has a song, doesn't she, Chris? Can you sing the song? Lady Snake, do. Yeah, right.
Lady Snake, do 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 do. Lady Snake, do 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 do. Lady Snake.
There we go. Lady Snake, famous. She's been on television. If she's a television witch and personality, Chris, surely she must be top ranking, top level witch. Surely she could completely melt down a Fae's home and destroy its trinkets and stuff.
Not a chance in hell.
Not a chance in hell.
No.
So what are we going to put her at? If it's a level to
what
level is she at?
I feel like we have to match it up with swimming awards.
Do you think she can swim?
I'm feeling like I feel like she's not got that one yet, and she's still having to learn how to put armbands on.
Right, and she hasn't even got like the armband. She's got one of those, you know, those floats.
Yeah, that like
a little
she's
one.
Got armbands on.
The floats that are around.
No, Liam. She's one of those that's got armbands on and has a float.
Oh, and has a float. Okay.
And is still clinging onto the side. Won't quite let go.
So what's that, level 1?
No, it's not even level 1.
But come on, Chris. I mean, she's a super witch that's been on Telebox and that. She surely has got to be a level 1. I mean, are there magical practitioners, Chris, that are lower, less powerful than Lady Snake out there?
I don't think there are.
So you're saying she's the weakest witch you've ever seen? I'm
saying she is the weakest link. Goodbye.
Right, so she's level 0, is she? But surely a mundane's level 0.
No.
Lady Snake's on a magical path. I would say Lady Snake's on a magical path. Mundanes aren't. Mundane's level 0, Lady Snake level 1, surely. And if you look at the progression of a lot of mundanes, they try this whole Wiccan thing and circle casting, just like what Lady Snake did. So I would say she's level 1. Yeah?
I feel like her practice is below that of a mundane, and it's 0-1.
So -1. -1. Right, so we got Lady Snake -1. Okay. At what level are you able to go all God mode, like the map maker did, enter into a Fae's home and completely destroy it because it was annoying you without worrying about bad repercussions of such thing? What level's that, Chris? Minimum requirements. What level?
If we're still talking, swimming,
sorry,
I think if we're still talking swimming, she's done her safeguarding, not safeguarding. What's that one? Lifeguarding training.
Right.
And she can run her own pool.
Oh. I don't know. That's like management material, isn't it? Once you've gone past lifeguard, I don't know. What swimming awards have you got, Mr. Chris? Did you get like your 25 meters at school or anything like that?
Hey, I'm a swimming instructor, me. Did you not know that?
But that doesn't have anything to do with distance swimming, does it?
No, it doesn't. No.
So what was the furthest you got?
I got all of mine when I was little.
Right. I don't know what they go up to.
They go up to, I want to say 9.
I did 800 meters.
Oh, see, we didn't do those. They were in.
Right.
So I can't remember what the top one had to be.
You did 25. I think you did 15 meters and then 25 meters and then 50 meters. And most people kind of finished at 50 meters. But on one of them, because I used to have swimming lessons, my swimming instructor just left me in the pool and forgot about me, essentially, and I just had to go and do circuits, and each circuit was
okay.
length, essentially, was equal.
No, see, ours were color coded and numbered.
Right. So yeah, I got my 800 meters.
Distance was part of it, but
Right.
then you got to the level of proficiency, and then you started joining the swim team. And then that's when you started doing like the big distances, like the 500, the 2K, that sort of one.
So I was asked when I did my 800 meter, they said you can either go and do life saving or you can go and do medal winning. So the medal winning was like the basically competitions and stuff like that. You'd win trophies and stuff like that. But I didn't want to do that. The novelty.
I hated distance swimming. I still do.
And some people were able to go off and do diving, but you had to do that in a different swimming pool because they didn't have a dive board, like a high one. So I think they had to go to Easton to do that.
They have swimming pools in Easton?
They have a swimming pool in Easton. It's called Easton Sports Centre, Easton Swimming Pool.
Okay.
But yeah, so serious conversation, magical practitioners, power levels and such. If we're saying ladies makes it a -1, your generic know nothing mundane is it 0. Okay. Going in and destroying the Fae. What level is that? Level 1 to 10.
Okay. I'll put her in there at let's say a 9.
Right, because we're not talking about labeling the map maker who did this the other day. We're talking about the minimum level ability you'd need to get to. You referred to it, I believe, as God mode, didn't you? Because
I did.
The realm started to disintegrate, or as she actually moved into it. But God mode, we'll call it. So what's God mode then? Is that level 9? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'd probably say I want to leave some room there because there obviously are levels beyond that. So
well, level 10 probably is what you can get up to in a physical corporeal.
Yeah. Yeah. So God mode's a bit tricky because obviously what we're talking about there is full command of astral space.
Well, it's a little bit more than that.
I'm trying to put it in terms. I'm trying to talk it in terms that Fausty Witches will understand. And I think God mode, for me, is more of a Marvel term than it is one we would normally use. So I'm trying to put it in terms that match that up.
Okay, so the creme de la creme of what you'd talk about normally with the 3-tiered leveling system is essentially foundation, intermediate, and advanced. The creme de la creme is normally advanced. Now, we talk about foundation and pre-foundation sometimes within the kind of Thoth witchcraft mystery school. So foundation level and pre-foundation level. Pre-foundation level, what would that be like? A level 1, maybe? Dabbling?
Yeah.
Level 2 is what? Foundation level?
No, I think
that's 5, isn't it?
Yeah, you're talking about 5 because it gets, I think, kind of halfway up there is what's required to really complete foundation is for you to have a wide enough impact that you can bend. And then obviously from that point, you're talking about actually pushing kind of intermediary magic. And then I imagine intermediary kind of finishes somewhere about 8. And then you're starting to push the starts of advanced.
So if you are, I'm going to name some organizations and qualifications and stuff. You've got to give me a level, okay?
Okay.
So if I have completed the advanced Llewellyn diploma in witchcraft, where would I be then?
2.5.
2.5? Fucking hell. Okay. If I'm a head honcho really high up in the OTL, Where would I be there?
Maybe a 5 if they're lucky.
If they're lucky, they're a 5. Okay. What about if I did the Centre of Excellence Diploma in Wicca?
Probably a 3.
Fucking hell. I'm surprised, Chris. I think that you're rating all of these quite highly. I have to say, you're being very nice today for a Fausty Witch. So one has crossed the abyss because, of course, when we talk about a Star Trek, they think about, well, actually, that's a pre-warp civilization. So they're basically in the Stone Age. Okay, they got nuclear stuff and all that. But if we were in the Star Trek universe, this Earth here, even though we got electric cars and we can go to the moon in a rocket ship and shit, we're a pre-warp, which basically means we're the Star Trek equivalent of Stone Age. Now, in the occult community and magical practice, there's this idea of the pre-warp in Star Trek, is basically the equivalent of crossing the abyss. So when you cross the abyss, that's like warp drive capability at that point. That's when suddenly things actually start to notice you and take you seriously. Now, what a lot of people don't remember or don't really think about is that there are various levels of warp drive in Star Trek. Warp 1, Warp 2, going up to Warp 10, where you're everywhere. Yeah? The Neoplatonists love Warp 10, Chris. Or they cream their pants over it. Right? So where would abyss crossing be on your level of 1 to 10? On your power level?
For me, I kind of feel like it's at that kind of 6 mark.
Oh.
Kind of, it tends to be into, because I find there are people that are what I would call kind of foundational level complete, that haven't, because I find the abyss, crossing the abyss is one of those things that should have happened in order to kind of complete foundation.
Yeah.
But doesn't always. So I'm being fair and saying kind of new into intermediate.
I would agree.
5, 6.
I'd say that when you get to an intermediate level, you've done it.
Yeah, normally.
Foundation is basically standing upon all of those, you know, with the whole ascension shit and that. You're standing on all of those things. So all of the people that are trying to climb the tree, as they say, you know, they think they get to a certain level. At that level, that top of the tree is what we class as foundation. You've completed a foundation in magic. Congratulations. It basically means you can stand on your own 2 feet at that point. Because to me, foundation means that when you've mastered a foundation, you've got solid footing. That's when the actual real work happens. All of the other stuff is like the education system at school. You haven't got a job or a career yet. You're just working on your foundation. You've got your, you know, primary school education, your secondary school education, your post-16 education. You might have done a degree. Now it's time to go out into the real world and develop a reputation for yourself. You've got to go and stamp your stamp, mark your mark. And if you're worried and scared, you do what most people do, is they go and become a teacher. Because they're so scared to leave the schooling system, they got a job within it. That's very rude, but sometimes accurate.
Very much true. Yeah, so kind of should at this point we're probably just talking scales that don't mean anything to anybody. So how do we kind of fulfill that gap of kind of going, what are we talking about is intermediary magic, because it is foundational magic. So to me it's mastery of the astral. So
mastery of the entire universe. At the end of the day, a foundation level is mastery of the universe. When you've done that, then you can start focusing on changing other universes, getting involved with other universes per se, whilst you're stood on this one, sat on it, like a cheap fold-out deck chair. And then you start to look about and you start to think, well, yeah, I mean, this deck chair is all right, but that one over there has got a cup holder. I like that one better. You know, you start to notice these things, that when you're in the universe and you're trying to master the things within the universe, various other abilities, when you're literally, Chris, trying to put yourself together, or pull yourself together, as they say, then you start to think, oh, yeah, I'm getting somewhere. I've managed to put the tent up. I've managed to get my campfire going. I've got some mess tins. I've poured some beans. They're eating up on the fire. And then you look around and you see the fucking glampers, Chris, with their fancy caravan. They push a button and the caravan goes, gets bigger. And then a hot tub comes out of the top. And you think, WTF, mate. WTF. That's what you think. And you think, me want some of that action. And at the intermediate level is where we see these dangers, you see. Particularly when it comes to some of the occult black lodges, because they think, I know, I got access to some new toys here. What I'm going to do is, because we're in this universe, and I'm dealing with another unhappy camper in this universe, I'm thinking I'm going to pull in from another universe, that their camper van, and run over their fucking tent in it. And they can't help it, because they live in a universe where, oh, wait a minute, they all live in tents and they're quite weak, flimsy materials, you know, and little tent pegs. And then they got this camper van they've never even seen before, because in your campsite there's only tents only. Never come across that, Chris. They think because they've mastered and got a couple of scout badges, can light a fire, that they're somehow indestructible. Within their little campsite, they are. But remember, there are other campsites around. And then there's that military gathering up the road where they got the army show with the tanks. That's even more worrying. The people in the campsite with the camper vans, they're worried about them fuckers. They're crazy, they get tattoos, and they're chanting a lot, waving Union Jacks around, Chris. Although either the Union Jack when it's flown at sea, otherwise it's the British flag, Chris. But you know, we don't want to say too much because we might get told off with an algorithm. Might
there is that. Don't let us get in any more trouble. Fausty needs to happen. And I think Deanna's put it.
Water skills is the lowest award. Chris, what are you always going on about the element of water existing in all planes? Lowest award, Deanna. Lowest award, she says. Why are we destroying Fae homes? We're not destroying Fae homes. Okay, it's obviously a story that involves another practitioner. Basically, practitioner had a little bit of a run-in with a Fae, and as they can be, a little bit troublesome. Maybe cultural issues, Chris, generally speaking, cultural mismatch of culture. She kind of threw her out like the pram at one point, maybe went and melted his house down. And all his little trinkets and things he'd collected. I don't think she melted down all the little souls that he just met.
Hey, careful, Liam, because you made that sound like it was a xenophobic thing, and actually, it's not. It's got nothing to do.
The Fae was being a tit.
Yeah,
basically.
So he was reminded.
Who threw the first stone? Okay, I think it was the Fae, wasn't it? Yeah.
And also, we probably also should mention he's got plenty of other homes.
Oh yeah, he's
it's
got
not his home. It's a home that he's put in a place that shouldn't really have been there in the first place. But yes. Moral of the story: don't piss off witches. I can't.
I don't know anything about Lady Snake, but I wouldn't arm wrestle her. She looks pretty strong. Don't worry, it's all flab.
Oh, don't.
What? It's true. With reference to crossing the abyss, how can power levels really be compared if they're all multiple paths? For example, path of the arrow versus path of the serpent, blah, 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 blah. So what we're doing is we are inelegantly comparing and contrasting different magical practitioners' abilities. That's the main theme of this show. Obviously, it's Fausty Witches, so we need to do it in the most nastiest, faustiest, bitchiest way as possible. So with regards to talking about in a more serious way, Jason, crossing the abyss, power levels, comparing multiple paths. there are multiple paths, multiple ways. Yeah. But what we have to remember is that comparing people on their journey. Okay, so we could compare someone that's done it, say they've crossed the abyss and all of that, and compare someone that is not done it yet, Lady Snake, for example. And we've got a big disparity here. Where it becomes a little bit more difficult is when we've got people that are on different paths. Yeah, but there roughly, is there some kind of level to it that we can say, this person is from this background that can do this, there's experience with this, blah, 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 and compare and contrast them to someone in a different background. You know, we have lots of different magical traditions, secret societies and all that are very much apparently geared towards assisting with some level of ascension, climbing the old ladder and such. How can you compare and contrast them? Which generally speaking is difficult, but we're going to try and do it.
We're trying to do it, but the tricky part is, from us, we base it on skills. Yes. So as teachers and mentors, we base it on skill sets. So regardless of what path you're from, doesn't really matter to us, because they should all allow you to climb this ladder. If they don't, then there's something wrong with the traditional practice.
It's probably a religion and a cult you find yourself in.
So what we're trying to say is essentially that there is a pathway, or at least a set of ladders, because obviously this is normally talked about in terms of ascension, but there is essentially a set of rungs on the ladder, and depending on where you are in that particular path, the skill set is where you can kind of say, those are the only ways you can really compare people. So different paths will give different priorities. We're saying from our skill, what we talk about when we talk about skill level is that crossing the abyss is a big benchmark that you can kind of compare all paths to, because any of them that are interested in ascension, and technically not all of them are, there will be an issue, for example, for the Neoplatonists, because there's a limitation part after crossing the abyss that becomes an existential crisis. So, so we are trying to, because it's Fausty and we can get away with it on the fact that it's a topic we wouldn't probably normally bring up publicly because people are on different paths.
Yeah.
But essentially for us, we feel like crossing the abyss is one of those good benchmarks of saying, okay, you've probably got a solid foundation by the time that happens. Because if you cross the abyss and you don't have a solid foundation, then it's not likely that you're coming back. So it's one of those things.
Your way in so many ways that I can't even explain using English language. But it is, I think it is like warp drive, isn't it? In Star Trek, warp drive capability is when everyone starts to think, oh, look, welcome to the party. You weren't aware of all of this before. By the way, there's a universe and it's got aliens in it and shit. That's what it's like in Star Trek. Everyone ignores you and tries to leave minimum impact and pretend like they don't exist. And then, obviously, if you watch any sort of Star Trek, they always end up ballsing it up. This whole prime directive thing, don't interfere. They never end up managing to do that from what I've seen. But there we go. They do at least attempt it. Temporal prime directive is my favourite, Chris. I have shitting all over that one.
Liam, this is not becoming a Trekkie episode.
I'm sorry, but no, it's not. So where are we going now then?
Well, Jason's just said apologies for his lack of Faustiness. But do you think Lady Snake could climb a tree even with a ladder? I'm not going to let you answer that one, and I'm going to move straight on because you'll make another joke that's not appropriate.
I say one of those that would attempt to climb. No. It would be a rope ladder, right? And it would be a rope ladder there. And she'd look to you, and she'd look back, and she'd look, and she'd be like,
"We're moving on."
Okay, and then
Michelle, Michelle has asked an interesting question, which is because we obviously on No Holds Barred talk about tryhards and naturals in an attempt to kind of tell people, you know, these are the key problems that normally happen, depending on which of those two camps you fall in an attempt to kind of point out that there are normal paths of trip ups that normally happen depending on which camp you're in. And I think actually this one doesn't particularly apply in some ways, but does in others, which is crossing the abyss isn't necessarily harder for tryhards. What tends to be a problem is more with natural witches. They can do it too easily. And I don't mean that as in they have to try less. I mean is they can accidentally do it and then not remember how to get back.
They're the ones that you see in psych wards and in comas.
Yeah.
Because they've never managed to get back, but the old body is still kind of functioning. They're still, to a certain extent, trickle down. But yeah, that is complicated, actually. Very complicated. I don't think that's a topic for Fausty Witches. That's more serious. But Chris, there are many. This isn't like, I mean, I know we're making light of it and trying to make jokes of it and such like that. But when you look at certain secret societies, they actually have initiation grades, don't they? Where they seem to think that they are putting grades in to almost track people's progress, you know. So the neophyte grade, the very beginning, old Lady Snake maybe would hope to join at neophyte level one day. And you know, things like that. Obviously I'm not saying that all secret societies have this, because not all secret societies are geared towards ascension, and there are some which will only allow people to join when they reach a certain level. So there are, for example, ones that would say, well, if you haven't crossed the abyss, you're not even allowed to know we exist, because you're no use to us at this point, which is a lot like I said about Star Trek. They will hide, didn't they? They will hide. Aliens, they use the technology in that to make their faces look different when they crash land on a planet and shit. Can't be getting involved with people's destinies, Chris, can we? Not in a negative way. What's that one golden rule we have, Chris? I often forget it. It's more sacred than the prime directive. It's like our prime directive. What's our prime directive at the
We don't affect people for more than one lifetime.
In a negative way. I always add the in a negative way bit at the end.
I don't.
Well, let's be fair. We do make an impact on people for multiple lifetimes. I mean, let's be fair. Your ego's big enough to say if someone met you, it's bound to affect them for multiple lifetimes, surely.
Rude. So as usual, jump in, ask questions, as you clearly are. But the kind of point is, it's one of those things that's tricky to do. We don't score people necessarily, so don't think that this is a new job that you've got to now consider. There are things where, well, I said something today, didn't I? That then I say every time we see the map maker, to be fair, which is the level of preparedness that I feel I have to have, which I don't have with most mentees.
That's very rude, Chris. Essentially what you're saying is that no one, aside from the map maker, on a regular basis tests you in any way, shape or form, and that you just turn up to their sessions and just spiel off a load of crap. That's essentially what you said.
That's not what I said at all.
Right, can you clarify?
I will clarify with the fact that I said that I actually have to give pre-thought to the sorts of training I'm going to offer or the quests that I'm going to set, because whereas most things come out naturally during a consultation, depending on the progress that's been made from the previous one. Whereas because, let's face it, Mapmaker doesn't really need us.
She needs the entertainment, Chris. She needs the entertainment.
But that's different to needing the tuition, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's the thing with abyss crossing, isn't it? Past that is all politics and keeping your motivation.
Yes.
Before that, it's all about learning shit. After that, actually, it's not really about learning shit at all. It's all about actually making life worthwhile living. Everything's perpetually boring, unfortunately, when you get there. It's all right for the first 5 minutes, but, you know, so is the idea of children living in a candy shop or a sweet store. I wonder if they'd want to stay there for an eternity. Probably not.
Suddenly start craving apples.
Maybe. Well, I wouldn't go that far. They'd probably start craving, I don't know, whatever it is that is better than candies and chocolates and such. Although I did go to Hotel Chocolat the other day, and I would say if I was to spend an eternity somewhere, that would be one of the places that I would consider an enormous hotel chocolate shop for which everything is free.
No.
Ooh.
I'm not all that keen, Liam, to be quite honest.
Oh, they've been doing really well, Hotel Chocolate. But anyway, this is not about chocolate, or is it? Did I say something secret that only people of a level 5 or above can understand when I spoke about chocolate? Then it's very difficult, isn't it?
I can assure you all.
Well, it's very difficult because this is what I see with people that look to gurus and mentors and all that sort of thing. People come out with, I see a lot of these gurus that set themselves up with these little cults and stuff like that. They come out with some blasé random crap that sounds somewhat philosophical and sounds somewhat clever as long as you don't give it too much thought. And then all they do is they just make it sound like they've got some kind of an enlightenment, and you get these little clingy on in minions that follow around. That guy you was friends with, what was his name? He had to follow him. Jesus, that was it.
I was never friends with Jesus.
No, sorry, Judas, I forget. Your friend Judas was friends with Jesus. I get the G's mixed up. I can't help it. Big G, little G.
No. Right. Here's a question for you, Liam, and try to be, a little bit woke with this one.
Woke. I'm awake. That's as close as I'm going to get to woke, I'm afraid.
Care to elaborate, Jason says, on the difference between some certifications, so versus actual power? And the example of certification is
third degree W word.
Third degree initiates of the Wicca variety.
Right.
So before you go into a rude rant, what I want to make quite clear is that obviously when comparing past, this is tricky, and it's not me doing the woke thing. I'm just preempting the sort of shit that's going to come out of your mouth. Is the fact that obviously it's a religious path, generally speaking, initiation within a Wiccan framework like that, because the solitaries are the ones who have the potential to not get involved in the god stuff, whereas initiatory Wicca is very much a religious order. So in terms of degrees of etiquette there is going to be a level of limitation applied, because it's not about ascension. So it's one of those tricky ones where we're talking about a pathway there that isn't based on ascension, or at least my understanding of it isn't. You may correct me.
Am I allowed to speak now?
Yes, you have permission.
So the question was talking about and comparing and contrasting degrees and initiatory degrees and such. Generally speaking, I would say you can. I think that would be what a lot of people would do. I think that would be the stereotypical thing that you would do, is compare one bit of paper or title to another. I've never found that to be very useful in what, in any way, shape or form. if someone rocks up and says, look, I've done my witchcraft diploma from the Centre of Excellence, I will probably judge them for it, because at the end of the day, why would you do that? If you knew even the most basic, simple things about any form of magic, you probably wouldn't have gone and done that. So there's an element of judging in that. But am I right to judge? Am I not right to judge? I don't know. It's an impulse. Okay. I don't think that any pieces of paper or anything like that ultimately really matter. They do matter within an organization. So if you have an organization or a coven or a magic order or anything like that, they may have important initiatory degrees in that, and they'll judge you inside that. But you can't, as an outsider, judge an organization or member organization as an outsider, because you're not part of that organization, don't know a huge amount about it, even if you have, cross the abyss and there's such a great height that you can look down at all of the little thelemites and such and think, oh, bless. Go and get the bug spray. Calamity. Order calamity. No. So what we're talking about realistically when it comes to power levels, rather than going by paper and initiatory degrees and titles, and reputations of occult lodges as well, because I don't go by that either. We go on individual abilities. It makes sense that if you have mastery of the astral realm, you can astrally project. Yeah? Makes sense, doesn't it? If you've mastered the astral realm, you can astrally project. Now, if you can't even astrally project or do any form of astral projection, the chances are you will have not necessarily reached abilities and such that are beyond that level, because some abilities and levels and things are stepping stones that build on top of each other. So you need to get here. Has anyone tried to go up some stairs? You can possibly jump over one, but you can't necessarily jump to the top of the stairs when the stairs are X very, 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 very high. Can, however, fall down the stairs quite easily, hence the Great Fall. There's all sorts of mythology written about that, but I'm going to leave that there because I can. Great fall from a great height, heaven, falling down the stairs, love. Pick yourself back up again. Chris, you'll like this one. Pull yourself together. See what I did, Chris? Ah, there we go. Okay. Some people will understand that. Some people won't.
So to kind of give some context again, I think to try and really oversimplify it, if we suggest
secrets, yeah, to dare to know and then to keep secret, and then the bit that your book didn't tell you to then take the piss out of. To dare to know, to keep secret, to then take the piss out of. Many important things. People say in occultism things are 3 is a magic number. What trumps a 3? A 4 trumps a 3. And the 4 says take the piss out of it.
So what I was trying to do there was to put some context, because people will then kind of go, okay, well, where does astral fit on the ladder? And you kind of go quite easily, if we go from a Kabbalic point of view and we go for the planetary tree, you can see quite how low down the stairs
the first
astral
one
is. The first step. So you're getting, if you want to consider it in that way, which is really oversimplifying it, the abyss sits after Saturn, if you want to look at it that way.
Well,
so you've got to kind of take those steps.
Does it? Does it not? It depends. It depends on how you're looking at it. Some would say that it's after that. Some would say the halfway between. Some would say it sits in the middle. I mean, it depends on your mapping system and what you look at. Chris is trying to skew you in the wrong direction, being the evil, false preacher that he is. They warned about people like you, Chris, in the Bible. They said in the end times, false preachers and prophets will come about. I believe that is you.
Hey, the amount of gossip that goes on in that book, you've got to think that, I may have had a hand here and there of spreading a few falsehoods. But we'll see. Keeps them all guessing.
The great beast. Were they talking about you? Are you a beast?
No.
A great beast in the bedroom? Great
No.
beast in the Bible? Or are you the slippery, slimy Leviathan thing they all read about? I thought you was just a false prophet, Chris, being a teacher.
I has chosen a much fairer face in many a term, so I wouldn't have been a beast. Beasts don't get things done.
Well, I don't know. You have got that kind of altar boy glamour on, haven't you, of late? What? Beware of something naughty, pretending to be something nice. That's a quote from something. I know. I've heard it before.
Yeah.
I didn't make that up, but I wish I did.
Right. Eric wants to know, why did Lady Snake run away over to her altar when she got scared after drawing a circle?
Is that a question for me, or is that a question for you? Really, it would have been the best question to be put on the Lady Snake episode, but I will answer it if Chris will allow me to answer it.
You can answer it if you're short.
Well, I'm not that short. There we go. Right. I'll get shorter and then I'll answer it, right? There we go. Right. Oh dear. You didn't like that today? No. So, Lady Snake ran to the altar because she is a dabbler. You see, what dabblers do is they like the idea of performing magic and investigating in the magic. As soon as something good happens and the magic happens and they feel a little bit out of their depth, they run away to some form of protection because they're scaredy cats. Was that short enough, Chris?
There you go. Lovely and short. Now you can get to the more important question that Michelle's asked, which is, how do you test if someone tells you they've been over the abyss?
No one does, Michelle. No one does. The first thing, right, is like Fight Club, Michelle. The first thing you need to know about Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. The second thing you need to know about Fight Club is you don't talk about crossing the abyss. And the third thing you need to know about crossing the abyss is, and this is where normally I would put in like a strange number or a symbol or something like that, because the conspiracy theorists will go nuts for it. The occultists will have a chuckle, and the people that are on some kind of a mystical path will probably try to overread it for the significance of it. So, first thing you need to understand about crossing the abyss is you don't talk about it. The second thing is that you don't talk about it. And the third thing is, for those of you that have yet to listen to the No Holds Barred Witchcraft podcast, this. Okay? Obviously, if you haven't listened to the No Holds Barred Witchcraft podcast about ancient language that comes out on Thursday, you won't know about that. But for those of you in the future that have listened to it, this. Okay. There we go, Chris. Over to you.
Well, her follow-up says, can you just tell then? Lol.
Can you just tell then, laugh out loud? I would say, generally speaking, yes. But in what form can you tell and how would you tell? At the end of the day, very difficult, isn't it? It is very difficult because you need to think about working on a multi-dimensional level, you being a multi-dimensional thing, all of these extra senses, abilities and knowledge levels that you pick up through the kind of ascension process, through climbing the ladder. As you climb the ladder, your view increases. Yeah. When I climb on top of the roof, yeah, I can see a lot further than when I'm down there because I can see over the tops of all of these other buildings, yeah, and things. I can watch the neighbour sunbathing naked in the garden. You don't want to do that, unfortunately, when it comes to crossing the abyss. Yeah, it's one of those things. If you've ever wondered whether the spirits can see you when you're on the toilet, I'm afraid the answer is yes, they can. From every angle. I've left him dumbstruck.
No, I was umming and ahhing pressing the lying button, but that's just because I can't help myself. So, although my favourite button, I can't find a reason to actually say it.
Oh, what you mean the thingy? All of my memes and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh well. You're trying to look for memes, aren't you? So
that's what I was focusing on. Yes.
We should carry on because we've only got about 10 minutes left. This is an important thing that Michelle has inadvertently stumbled across, whether she meant to or not. We'll assume that she did try to put some important point across, because she's talked about telling whether people have crossed the abyss or not. Ultimately, who really gives a shit? Focus on your own path. Other people's paths are none of your business, realistically, unless you want to fuck with them, right? Now, false preachers, false teachers, all of that sort of thing are very, very, very dangerous. Now, I'm not only talking about this here because it's important, I'm also talking about it because I managed to get a little clip of The Wizard of Oz. This is an important occult lesson, yes?
Important the great and powerful Oz. I said come back tomorrow.
If you were really great and powerful, you'd keep your promises.
Do you?
Yes, Chris. If you were really great and powerful, you would keep your promises. If you say you can do something, you will be able to do it. Right? That's one of the things. Important thing.
Presume to criticize the great Oz.
Yeah, a lot of false teachers and that, they don't like to be criticized. Another important step. I criticize Chris a lot, and he takes it most of the time quite well. Despite the massive ego.
Ungrateful creatures, think yourselves lucky that I'm giving you audience tomorrow instead of 20 years from now.
We could say something about obviously interacting with other people. We could talk a little bit about and read into that a little bit about, well, actually, you should feel lucky that I'm even having a conversation because I'm so much more advanced than you and so much more ascended, blah, 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 so many more rungs up the ladder. Why am I bothering to talk to you? If people start to say that, seems a bit iffy, seems a bit worrying, because if you're talking about someone or something that has a great amount of ability to be able to see into multi-dimensions, the future, this and that and the other, they already have decided and already can see the relationship with you, why they're talking to you, why they're in your life, the interconnectedness of you, what you're plugged into, what they're plugged into, all of that kind of stuff. They'll be able to see that. Interesting. Chris, can you tell I'm making shit up as I go along?
Always.
Okay, I'll have to do a better job then.
Oh, the great Oz has spoken. Oh, pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. The great Oz has spoken.
Who are you?
Very interesting, isn't it? It is very interesting. So the concept of we see this with occult leaders, cults, like the modern sense of cults and stuff like that, hiding behind a facade, hiding behind a curtain, that kind of thing, separating themselves from the other people that are around them. Okay, and this hierarchy, okay, because hierarchies can be useful in the form of organization, whether it be a business or a company, as in a company, potentially military company on a campaign, structure of people coming together, a company doing something, trying to work towards something. There needs to be some kind of order very often for humans to actually get something done in an efficient way. Now, clinging on and hiding behind a curtain, hiding behind a title, robes or positions and stuff like that is a worrying thing that you'll tend to see all over the place. Now, here's the dangerous thing. A lot of people will say, this person here is hiding behind this curtain, hiding behind this title, within this magical order, this, that, and the other, because they don't have any ability, because they don't have any power. Not always the case. In a lot of black lodges, you will see that they just don't want to teach anyone else. They want to make people smart enough to be useful, but keep them dumb enough not to be a threat to them. Because they don't want, as they've clawed and are standing and are currently perched on top of a pile of people, they don't want someone using their head to pull themselves up at their own expense, you see. So there we go. What does Dorothy say?
Oh, I am the great and powerful Wizard of Oz.
You are? I don't believe you.
No, I'm afraid it's true. There's no other wizard except me. You humbug! Yes, it's exactly so. I'm a humbug.
Oh, you're a very bad man.
A very bad man, yes. He is a very bad man, Dorothy. And Dorothy, if you're listening, I'll get you, Dorothy. And your little dog, too.
Wow.
So, yeah, so ultimately, Dorothy's pulled back the curtain. She's found this person, this humbug, who is now suddenly, all of a sudden, because he's been called out, is a humble humbug. Oh, please don't hurt me, sir. Please don't. I'm sorry, I never meant to. He's given all the bravado before. Interesting. I've seen a lot of this in occult lodges. Chris, can you think of any moots you've been to that are also similar?
I can think of a few.
You can think of a few in the Midlands, maybe.
Oh, all over, not just
All
here.
over the place. Oh, it's not just in the Midlands.
It's not a Midlands thing at all.
No.
Right, so a couple of questions, possibly
okay.
the last ones we've got time for.
Okay.
But if you can get them in quick, we'll answer them. Michelle says, so how would a witch test their own power?
Oh, that's simple, Michelle. If you want something to happen, or you want something to be able to do something, or an ability, or you want something in your life, and you can't get it, chances are you need to learn a new ability, or need to learn something else. You need to learn why you can't get it and how you can get it. Okay, what's interfering with that? So ultimately, the way me and you work, I think, Chris, is that we go by people's wants, needs, ambitions, and when they find barriers, obstacles in their way, we help them break through their barriers. Because I think it's by testing against obstacles, barriers, and such that you find your own limitations. And the point is that when you find a limitation, that is when you would then try to break that limitation, to get past it, to learn and climb over it.
And this is why I quite like the Witch Wars too, because I feel like people that aren't necessarily mentored by us, what people who don't progress, the reason a lot of people don't progress is because they don't ever test that, because they're just used to being in their usual little furrow that they just go to A to B, back and forth, A to B, B to A, and they just keep going this kind of same treaded path, which becomes easier and easier for them, but isn't very fulfilling, and never gets tested. So what I think Witch Wars it does is gives you a reason to try things you wouldn't normally try. So, for example, with the current Witch Wars 6 and the kind of money magic experiment, gives that opportunity. If you're not someone that would normally bother with money magic, or has never really felt the need to, the nice thing about having this goal of how much can you make in a month suddenly is interesting enough for you to go, okay, I'll give that a go. I wonder how much I could get in a month. It becomes a test against yourself and kind of pushes yourself to actually try something that you wouldn't necessarily do. I think it's why the first one was so good. In my opinion, the kind of hex or heal was the fact that actually most people chose something they were either good at or had never done before. So, and I think what we expect from a foundation is kind of that, is you should be able to do all those things. You may not need to do them. That's what differs from traditions. Traditions normally have a set of goalposts that they expect you to meet. They don't necessarily want you to be, that sounds a bit more insidious than I meant it to be, but kind of, you don't necessarily need all of the skill sets in order to get somewhere specific. And for them, they're getting somewhere specific. For us, we want you to be super witches so that you don't need us. That's the whole point of us giving the time and energy into doing it, is to make sure that you actually, wherever your goal is, once you reach it, you shouldn't need us. That's the whole point. So, you know, you're wanting to get where the map maker is, which is, it's either fun, or I've never tried that before. So yeah, sure, I'll give it a go. So yeah, like Liam says, testing yourself is just literally going, well, can I do that? If the answer is, oh, I'm not sure, that's the test. Can you do it? And then the other one, which I feel like you kind of answered with the Wizard of Oz stuff, is a question from Jason, which is, apart from bragging rights and secret handshakes, why would you want to cross the abyss? And I think obviously for a lot of people, it's that big test of, have I completed Foundation? Can I pull back that curtain if I wanted to on anything? But
to a certain extent, I think that's what drives people. The secret, I think, to it, that some people get, some people don't, is it's the same reason why Captain Janeway wanted to get to the Alpha Quadrant, is to go home, going back to a place, an estate, I would say, for a lot. But it is ultimately a lot more complicated than that, so don't take that as gospel, because that's not strictly speaking true, but it is something that you wouldn't necessarily an approach or a thought process that a lot of people don't tend to have. Have we got any other questions, Chris?
None currently, but yeah, just to kind of reiterate that, I think most people that we at least come in contact with, is crossing the abyss is part of a journey to kind of complete oneself, is to actually kind of understand, okay, in my entirety, what am I? It's one of those very kind of Descartes moments, I guess.
Pull yourself together.
Pull yourself together.
Yep. Right. Well, that is it for this episode of the Fausty Witches. Fausty Witches, of course, will return next week at the same time. So, I suppose goodbye, everyone.